Hi, Jenny. Get started in a few minutes. Okay. We're live on Facebook. Hi everyone, we're going to get started in a couple minutes. Hi Mei Ling, hi Valerie, hi Jenny. Hi May. It's nice to see your name pop in. Oh, and here they come. Yeah, it's really exciting to be here too. Hi Sorcha and Carmel. Get started in a couple minutes. Alright. You can't access the audio, so you'll leave and try again. Okay, Carmel, give it a go. I wasn't talking, so maybe if you hear me now. Alright. Give people a couple minutes. It's just the top of the hour now. Hi, Carmel. Welcome back. Can you hear us now? Oh, Sunita. Hi. Hello, everyone, and welcome. Looks like some more people are popping back in, so we'll just start with a hello and a welcome. It's the top of the hour. I don't want to keep you guys too long. I know we're all really busy and full. But welcome to the Fierce Awakened Woman Global Online Conference. Hi everybody. Hi Francis. Hi Mary. Hi Sorcha. Sunita, hi. It's nice to see you again. Put in the chat. I'd love to know where you're calling in from today. We have such a global presence, from Alaska to Australia and from Nairobi to Newfoundland and Santa Barbara, Mailing, I know you're enjoying that part of the world. Scotland, Dublin. Oh, Marbella. Oh, Francis, that's a nice place to be right now. Sunita, it's lovely to see you too. Thanks. Let me know if there's any problem with the sound. I had some technical difficulties during the recording of some of the events because it was a twisted cable that I didn't know. So we got Annika from France, and from Tiergard, Orion. I don't know where that is. Mary. Wales. Nice to see you, Claire. Yeah, so if my sound goes in and out a little bit this time of the day, sometimes there's an internet lag. Nice to see you, Jace from New Mexico. Nice to have you all here. We'll just really open up this space today. Northern Virginia. I think that's Sheila. From Mayo, Ireland, San Clemente, San Francisco. Hi, Laura. It's so representative. All these different places that we're just putting names to right now. It's such a fun way. We have hundreds of people signed up for this, and finding a time that actually meets with everybody's time zone is quite challenging sometimes. We have folks in Australia who will probably watch the recordings tomorrow. I think it's 3 a.m. in Australia right now. We have folks registered from the Emirates, from some parts of Africa, from some parts of South America. So we'll just get started. And how are you enjoying the session so far? Have you been able to listen to Peggy's or Verdeluce's or Jocelyn's sessions yet? It's the first day, so we want to set the intention for the fierce awakened woman and really start stepping into this space of however we're going to define it. And we'll talk a little bit about that as we go, because I feel that right now we all have a different way of thinking about fierce. Jay's first session. Yeah, it's going to be a great week. It's a real wisdom-packed week, and there's a real journey here. There's a journey starting today with the intention, and then tomorrow we have some really deep healing sessions, both represented by the masculine and the feminine. Jennifer Akkad is doing a practice that takes us right into sort of that womb space, and Christoph does a really fantastic session that heals about seven maternal lineages. No, let me say that differently. 7 generations of our maternal lineage. That's the correct way to say it. And it was so powerful that I woke up the next morning and I had such clarity about so many different things. So give yourself some time and space to tune in. And then we have Mailing, who's on the call here with us. She's one of our featured speakers for Wednesday when we look at different flavors of fierceness and how different women are showing up in the world. And tomorrow we have Ursula, who's from Wales, and she's walking Europe right now. But I felt like her session kind of worked with Tuesdays on this sort of, she has a really powerful story, and the reason why she's out in the world comes after a cancer diagnosis. So that's really powerful. And then Thursday is looking at how we're illuminating new ways forward and showing up in the world in different ways, and how we can deal with sort of the trauma and aftermath of the pandemic. And Friday is a celebration. Friday we have song and music and improvisation, and Geraldine Glass will do a sound bath that's keyed into the words of this conference. So this is the first thing I want to say as I'm welcoming you all and seeing, well, not seeing you, but feeling you. And really, I went through the registration list and sent you really good wishes and gratitude for being here today. So we're going to talk about what is fierce and awakened, right? How can we bring courage into our lives and stamina and resilience, all of the things that have tested us in 2020, and then use this as a layer for creating dynamic grace. So, and what is dynamic grace, right? It's those are not words that we really put together often, but my answer is as good as yours, really. Like, this is part of the reinvention and remembering who we are and how we're stepping into life post-pandemic, what's calling to us now, what kinds of women do we need to be, what kind of men do we need to be, what kind of humans do we need to be. And I'll set the stage in with the word fierce and awakened and what my definition of it is right now, because it's meant something different to me throughout my entire life. And as I'm talking, maybe you can throw in some words in the chat of what fierce and awakened mean to you. But for me right now, fierce and awakened is really about coming home to myself. It's no longer that 5 or 6 year old fierceness that I had when I raced the boys down the block and I was so determined to beat them. Or when I was a teenager and I was not a particularly rebellious teenager, but I did take a stand for a lot of things. I joined Amnesty International and I was marching in the streets for anti-nuke war heads back in the 80s in high school. And I had that activism side through my 20s as I went into journalism and took a stand for people who I believed didn't have a voice at the time, and that I could use journalism as a way to give voice to the people who weren't being heard. In my 30s, after I got divorced and my life felt like a huge failure, fierceness meant putting on my backpack and going on my first solo backpacking trip. That to me felt really fierce at the moment that I chose to do that. And then my 40s showed up and I walked across 2 continents, and that was my definition of fierce. To walk from Thailand to Barcelona. But now as I'm getting closer to 50, what I'm really finding is that my fierceness is part of who I'm always becoming. It's being willing to look at this idea of who am I becoming next? Am I getting closer to who I truly am? And what does that even mean? Who am I truly? You know, who are we? What do we stand for? What do we value? And awakening, I think, thanks, mate. Yeah, it was pretty courageous to do that. It was my most brave thing, I think, that I've ever done. But the awakening part, I think, is now about awareness. It's a combination, I think, of willingness and awareness. And awareness is, I think, really just coming back into a more mindful place, being a little bit more intentional about what I'm trying to create. Although that's not always the case either, because I don't always know the destination. I just know that I've got to keep taking the next step. And I find that that is the most empowering thing for me right now to remember, is that there is just one step at a time, that I don't need to multitask perfectly. I think I had to give that up a long time ago. And now I can come into a more creative flow. For me, it's meditation really helps me do that. Mindfulness meditation really helps create that space for me to feel grounded and expansive at the same time. And then with that sense of awareness that I can bring into my day, then I can create a conference like this. For instance, this conference was born, and if you catch the opening session and go back in, I explain some of the inspiration from how this conference actually came to be born the way it is right now. But as I've been putting this together, I realized, in fact, that I I had this idea more than 10 years ago, or about 10 years ago. My old professor, my professor from Rutgers when I was in university in the 90s was in Barcelona with his family. And I told him, and I could remember exactly where I was standing when I told him this. And I said, I want to encourage people and empower women and pivot my life in a direction that helps women in a way that's dynamic and fierce and gentle, right? There was a different way that I wanted to present this and hold the space. And 10 years ago, I guess I just did not have the lived experience to step into that. And it was surprising to me a few weeks ago to remember that, oh, this idea had actually been in my space for a really long time. And that's what I really want to encourage for you this week. I really would love for you to approach this conference with an idea of slow listening. Even though we're talking about impulses for freedom, we can't follow impulses for freedom if we don't give ourselves the space that we need to listen to whatever's coming in. So that's why I'm making all of these sessions available through the entire week until Monday morning Europe time. So you can come in and you can listen as you want according to your schedule. They'll be up the entire week, so you can go a little bit slower so that you can tune in to remembering maybe some idea that you had, or remembering that there's been a whole series of steps that have taken you to this moment, and that something else may be willing to come forth now if you pause for a second. So hi to all the new folks who've just come in, and let's just pause there for a second and allow that space for deep listening. And my intention for you is something that my mother told me when I was 31 years old in 2003. So I'm 49 now, so this was almost 18 years ago at this point. As I was leaving for my first solo backpacking trip to Europe after my divorce, which I've marked as my first major failure of my life, because up until that point, I had been doing what I thought I was supposed to be doing to have a happy life. Got good grades, went to a good university, got a good job, had a boyfriend who became my husband, who became my ex-husband. And I was really heartbroken about that. And I decided that if all of that was a failure, then I might as well fling myself out into the world and try something different. But I didn't really have an intention with that. And on the day that I was leaving for the airport, I stood on the porch with my mom in Jersey City, New Jersey, the house that I grew up in. And she hugged me and she said, "I hope you find what you're looking for." And at the moment, in my 31-year-old heart, I had no idea what she was talking about. I just didn't want to feel lonely and sad and depressed in my apartment in San Francisco at the time where I was living. And all I knew at that moment was that I had to make another choice. I chose to quit my job after my divorce. I saved all my money for a few months so I could go travel. I had never traveled by myself as a backpacker before. I had no idea what I was stepping into. I had no idea what the outcome would be. And one of the outcomes is that I met Luis, my partner now in life, and my walking companion, my heart companion. And that's why I'm living near Barcelona right now, was because that was an outcome of that leap that I took. But all these years later, I think of my mom. My mom passed away about in 2008. And I don't know, there's a lot of things I don't know why she said certain things. But when she said to me, I hope you find what you're looking for, it stayed with me all these years because it makes me wonder what I'm really looking for. I am a life learner. I'm a life seeker. And every year that passes, I know this more and more about me. I am truly committed to my path of becoming who I am and being curious and willing to explore that. So my wish for you is that you find what you're looking for, that maybe there's some nugget of information that comes in through this conference, through one of the speakers, and maybe it comes in a way that you weren't expecting, right? Maybe you just hear something and you sit with it for a while, and 2 weeks from now you're thinking about it still. So I hope you find what you're looking for. I hope it takes you to whatever next step you want to take in your own life to be fierce and awakened. I hope that there are cosmic breadcrumbs in all of this that you can pick up and nourish yourself with and your community with. I hope that this becomes a little bit of a connection of community and light and hope, and that we start becoming who we are, and that we start sharing what we know with each other. Thank you, Michelle. We have to start sharing our stories. We have to start being more visible. Hi, Amy. Yeah, becoming, what is that word? And I thought about that word a lot when I was doing the Fierce Awakened Woman. And maybe it's our fierce becoming. Maybe that's, something we need to play with here as well. So what I want us to do, because the way that I've been really envisioning a lot of this conference, it's because I'm going back in my own timeline and I'm looking at how different patterns and footprints have impressed my heart, I guess. That's probably the word I'll use. And you don't notice it when you're in the doing of it. You notice it when you're in the being of it. And the way that I first envision this, and this is something, I'll mention it now before I forget. On April 6th, I'm offering, it'll be a booster class, like a follow-up class to the Fierce Awakened Woman Conference. And it's a free webinar where we'll go a little bit deeper into what I'm calling the Fierce Awakened Woman's Wheel of Enchantment. And the class is called Fill Your Fierceness Cup, Nourish Yourself with Wonder and Joy. And if you go to my speaker page, you'll see that free gift. It has the Zoom link. You don't need to register. You can just pop in. And we're going to talk a little bit about it today, but we'll go a little bit deeper on that class and I'd be really curious to see how these things show up for you. How are you becoming, and what are you noticing now, and what are you noticing after the conference? If you come to the webinar, we can talk about that. But this Wheel of Enchantment, I initially envisioned it as a wheel, and then it sort of showed up as a spiraling wheel. And now the way that it keeps coming to me is a multi-dimensional loop. Maybe it's like an infinity sign that just keeps repeating itself. But we're going to use it as sort of a wheel word. I'm a former journalist. Well, I'm still a journalist. I'm still a writer in my heart. I love words. I love what words mean. I love how they land in our space. So for a couple minutes here, just really sink in. And I'm going to talk about a few words. And this is how I see things, sort of how I've stepped into my own courage, and how I've noticed in my most vulnerable moments that it's not when I'm really down in the mud. It's for me when I see the glimmer of possibility that I know it's going to be okay, right? That there's a certain amount of trust that I know I have a power of choice, the power of possibility. That comes from probably being in this ickiness. But let's just play with these words for a little while. Let them dance in your space. Let them really land and see where they make you laugh or make you smile or make your heart pitter patter, and maybe where they make you feel a little bit like the word you don't want to deal with today. But all of this comes into the idea of being fierce and awakened for me, and I want to share it with you. So wherever you are, and if it's safe for you to do this, just take a moment, be present to where you are. Maybe there are sounds around you. Maybe if you're sitting down, put your feet on the floor, flat on the floor. If you're in a cushion, allow yourself to just feel rooted into the earth. If you're out for a walk, fantastic. Be safe while you're listening to this, and tune in as you can, staying aware of your environment. And I'm just going to toss some words out and see what they feel like for you. We'll start with the word enchantment. Really feel into that word. Imagination. Wonder, playfulness, and joy. Creativity, intentionality. Freedom. Fierceness. Determination. Responsibility. Patience. Integrity. Courage. We keep moving around the wheel, letting it float around us. And we land on the word endurance. Uncertainty. Disappointment. Doubt and worry. Just allowing whatever's coming up to be here without any bias or judgment. Seeing where it's landing in your body when we come back and we say the word fear or sadness. Stuckness. Surrender. When we cross the threshold from surrender and we become hopeful, we see possibility. Awareness. The willingness to take another step. And now dream into the space of enchantment again. And that's the short circle of the fierce awakened woman's wheel of enchantment. Letting words kind of take on a different meaning for you, or maybe to find a more genuine meaning. You know, what does enchantment mean? When was the last time you felt enchanted by something? What does surrender feel like in a year like 2021, when 2020 has taught us to be resilient in ways that we never imagined? Just take a deep breath into this and let it just be here. Let it circle in your space, and then when you're ready, just kind of shake it off and play a little bit with yourself, you know, like do a little dance or a little move. I did mention that in one of the emails that I might dance for you. I might have to wait until Friday and set up the room a little differently. But I'm curious if any of those words hit you in any particular way. If you want to share it in the chat, or if you have a question, or if you want to come over and share something, I could put you into the onto the screen. I think I can do that. And just a reminder, remember that you're putting comments to panelists and attendees so that we can all see that. Geez. New Mexico, where I'm currently, is known as the land of enchantment. Wow. I didn't know that. I didn't know New Mexico is the land of enchantment. So excited to explore this space in a whole new way with all of this in mind. Thanks, Jace. I really do feel like there is a way to reconsider this. And, you know, we're using all these words: remember, reignite, rekindle. You know, why not? Why not recreate also? Enchantment for me seems to encompass how I'm feeling about my life and work right now. So many possibilities, so many interesting things happening. I didn't realize it until you said it. You're welcome. Yeah, there are all these different words that we don't pay attention to. And I'll admit, like, I get into a semantics thing sometimes. I really like to know what the origin and meanings of words are. And I know some of you can appreciate that and know me long enough that you know that about me. But even the word like vulnerability, I sometimes get really angry about the word vulnerability, because what it really, in its first definition, it means being willing to be open to the possibility of attack. And to me that feels funny, because we've spent most of our human evolution trying to not be open to attack because it might kill us. So reframing vulnerability as not being a fatal blow to our lives, and being willing to be, I suppose the word is exposed, right? Exposed or genuine, and not being afraid of being genuine. I think those are the words that hit me more, because vulnerability to me means weak. And I'm exploring that. I'm exploring why I associate vulnerability with weakness. And I think this is Sheila, that it's making an effort to find the charmed in everyday living. Charmed, what a great word. Yeah, bravery, right? What does all this mean to us now? So cool to feel how much joy came up when you said fear. Jeez, that's really interesting. There was such a deep sense of friendship and playfulness there between fear and me, and I. Such a lovely, organic experience. Jace, do you want to come over and talk a little bit more about that? Of how joy came up when I said the word fear? creativity, playful adoration. Okay, hold on. Let me figure out how I can get you to come over. Jace, how do I bring you over? I saw it on the other. Oh, here it is. I have to go back to panelist. I see. Thank you for your patience, everybody, in helping me figure that out. I'm still learning all this stuff. Hi, Jace. Hold on. Let me put you onto gallery view so we can see you. Hi. So fear made you feel joy.
It did. Yes.
How did it come up? Like, how did that
Well,
happen?
I do a lot, or I've done a lot of work with fear as friend in my healing work, recognizing it as not something happening to me, but for me. That it's kind of a just like a little light that says, "Hey, this is out of alignment. Like something is not quite right here. You might want to take a look at this." And because I'm on a path of self mastery, as I imagine so many of the wonderful people here are as well, I want to know when things are out of alignment. So when I have that come up in me, that's my best buddy in the wings, being like, "Psst, hey, you got to look at this thing. Like there's still something hanging on here, usually from the past, usually an old wound that's not been completely loved yet and healed. And I want to know those things. So as a result, I really honor fear in me. And not like oh, there's a lion. Like that is also a great fear, but that's not what I received when you said fear. It was more of that kind of that false threat, the internal threat. That's not really that external. And so it was really neat to just, because I haven't checked in with it on how, like, oh, how do I feel with that these days? So as soon as you said fear, I didn't see this like darkness or this scary thing. I saw like a really silly, playful being like running at me, like we're like on the beach running towards one another, like best buddies that haven't seen each other in a while. And it was so just fun and like, oh, it's you and it's me. And like, oh, we're in this together. And thank you so much. And just so much joy came up. And I thought, oh, and it was really playful. So that was such a gift to have that just organic check-in moment for how I'm receiving fear at this point. So I'm so appreciative of that. That was really fun.
Oh, well, I so appreciate your point of view on this. The perspective of it's the false, the false threat. It's the fear that, you can actually run towards and embrace and not, be acquainted with it. I like that idea that you were running on the beach together, together to like meet each other again. That's really a fantastic way of thinking of it, right? If we stepped into that playfulness of fear and realized that maybe not many of the things that are in our lives warrant the amount of fear that we attach to it sometimes.
Yeah, and it felt very feminine, which is perfect in this because I think in a masculine approach we conquer our fears, we face them, we overcome them, like
Right.
get rid of it. And it's like, oh no, like, oh my little buddy. Like we want those warning lights. We like I want my check engine light to come on. I don't want my engine just to explode. Like yes, it's annoying when the light comes on, but I'd rather that than my radiator just blow out, right? And so that idea of like fear is bad and we have to get rid of it at this point feels like invasive and just mean. Like I feel sad for fear. Like, oh, poor fear, you're just trying to help. So yeah, I think playfulness and fluidity and uncertainty really does match with the feminine, and I hadn't really placed that either until we're talking now. So again, I appreciate that opportunity to have a little organic self-discovery there.
You're welcome. And those words were intentional, and there are many more, right? If we kind of dig into it, but they did sort of, maybe some of you picked up on this. They did move from sort of what I consider sort of a dynamic feminine, right, of imagining and flow and creativity, into sort of the dynamic masculine, which was responsibility and fierceness and determination, right? Like those are sort of action words in the masculine vocabulary. And then we kind of moved into a little bit more of that more emotional space, right? Of the doubt and uncertainty and disappointment. And then I don't know if this is like a stiller masculine or not, but sort of that moment when you feel stuck and you start seeing the possibility again, and you start putting direction and map making ability towards moving into a new space, and then you come back into the enchantment of it, right? Like that's sort of how I've been playing with these movements. So your ability to feel that organically and check in and see fear in a feminine way, this is really, I think, powerful for all of us. So thank you, Jace, for explaining, for sharing that and shedding that light on this space that we're in. I think it's,
Oh, I appreciate you letting me share and everyone holding such a lovely, safe container here to show up.
yeah, thank you. Great. Um, I'm going to move you back over, I think, if I did that correctly. Yeah. Okay, let me just catch up a little bit on chats here. Enchantment. Oh, Amy, I saw that one. Surrender. Annika. Yeah, I felt vulnerable. It took me back to a bad physical experience. That when you move to hope, the feeling softened. A warmth crept in. Maybe I'm moving forward into hopefulness. Yeah. Annika, do you want to talk a little bit more about that? Yeah, Jace, that was fabulous. Amy, I associate vulnerability with courage. It takes courage to express an idea in a professional environment, especially an idea you still haven't fully fleshed out. Yeah, and also in a personal environment when you anticipate rejection of the idea from those closest to you. Fear is an indicator of light. Yep, I love that too. Well, Amy, do you want to talk about that for a second? Vulnerability with courage. Do you want to come over? You can do that. Awesome. Thank you, Amy. Let me go find you over here. Okay. Amy, hi.
Hello, Jen.
Nice to see you here. Nice to
Well,
see you here.
likewise.
Vulnerability is courage. What does that look
Yeah,
like
well,
for you?
it takes courage to put yourself out there and do something new, like run a summit. And you can't do something new like that without opening yourself up to vulnerability. So to me, the two go hand in hand. Whether you're embarking on a new endeavor, or whether you're working on an organizational transformation project in a ginormous organization or a small organization, or you're just moving forward or moving along in your personal circles, whether that be the soccer circle or the PTA circle or the reading club circle, whatever that circle is, the expression of any new idea or any new suggestion of taking a different path or doing things in a different way is the mixture of courage and vulnerability. And it comes from a place of wanting to improve everything around you. But you have to be vulnerable in order to express the idea, and it takes courage to put it into words.
I think that's a good starting place for me to redefine my own idea of vulnerability as weakness and using Jace's idea of fear
Mm-hmm.
as an indicator of light to check in with that and to not see weakness as maybe vulnerable. It's a very interesting dynamic, I think, right? And bringing grace to that, right? Like the courage and the grace and the vulnerability. That probably is what makes us whole in some ways.
Yes. And I don't think anyone understands courage and vulnerability more than women do. I realize how sexist that is for me to say, but we've been in this space of enforced vulnerability for so long that speaking up against it is itself courage and vulnerability.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Look at all this wisdom that's in our community. Isn't it fabulous? Like when we just start circling together, what nuggets come up in our own little conversations every day. and not so little. I mean, these could be really meaningful conversations. So thank you, Amy. I'm gonna send you off for a moment. And how did I unpin you? Oh, disable talking. Okay. Yeah, coming up with a new word for vulnerability. Yeah, let's work on that this week and circle back at the end of the week and see if we have a new way of expressing some of these ideas and not just assuming that we know the definitions of all these words and going with the definitions that we've been told they are. I'm conscious of the time and I don't want to keep you guys too long. I could talk forever. Everybody, some of you know me enough that I can do that. Just a couple housekeeping notes. I hope you're getting the emails that are telling you about the daily sessions. In all ways, go back to the event page. Let me just put that in here for you, that you have the event schedule page. And that is that is the hub of all the information. And from there, you could click to the speaker pages and access all the videos as they come up. Generally speaking, all of the videos will be released at 1 p.m. Central Europe time, Barcelona time. You can check the time zones for that. I get myself confused with so many different time zones I'm in right now. But those are there. You're getting the emails about that and the event schedule page. If you run into any technical problems, please send me an email. Let me just put that in here. It's Jenn, Jenn, at alwaysonmyway.com. If you're running into any problems, or if you know anybody who's tried to register and they haven't been able to get in for whatever reason, or they're not getting the emails, let me know and we'll course correct this as we go. Yeah, go back in, check out today's grounding practices with Verdeluz, with Jocelyn Mercado, and Peggy Moore. They have really different approaches in this, and you'll notice also that there's a very deliberate cross-generational and cross-cultural and which one did I miss? Cross-generational, cross-gender, and cross-cultural influence here. And I think it's really important for us to tap into that because we are a collective and we are all rising up together to become not just our best individual selves, but to become the best communities that we can become. So go check those out. They have really fantastic grounding practices. Give yourself about 15 or 20 minutes to go through those practices. They're at the end of the videos. And tomorrow we have a really deep shamanistic journey. And then just let yourself play in the space. You know, come as you are. Learn whatever's in front of you that's meant to be yours to learn this week. And slow down to listen so that you can follow impulses for freedom with a new sense of strength and understanding of who you're becoming. Thank you for being here today. I'm really grateful for all of you. I'm really excited about the possibilities that's before all of you. And I'm really glad we're connected. So thank you very much for being here. And check in. Let me know how it's going. You have my email. Let me know how things are turning out this week. Awesome. You're welcome, everybody. Thank you. Thank you. I'm looking forward to connecting here again. There'll be live sessions almost every day as well. Oh, tomorrow I have a surprise. We got the approval from Dr. Jenn Baljko. She's officially going to be on our call on the conference tomorrow. There was a few minutes where I thought she wasn't coming, but that looks like it's a go. And for me, she's one of my influencers, and I'm pretty sure that I have fallen in love with feminine archetype language because of her. So we'll figure out what we're talking about tomorrow, and I hope to see you on the live session. We'll be at the same time tomorrow, 5 o'clock Central Europe time. So thank you, everybody. Take good care. Be fierce and fun and fantastic.